Hello everybody and welcome back to the HS files. Do, 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 do. I'm your host, Brennan Silver, full-time father, devoted IT specialist, and part-time Hearthstone streamer. That's why you're here. You can catch me on my stream Sundays through Wednesdays from 8 p.m. to midnight on Twitch. It's twitch.tv/Brennan, ROAHS. That stands for Random Acts of Hearthstone. Brennan's Random Acts of Hearthstones. I know last week you all tuned in for the exciting file about opening the Waygate, number 072, where we went deep into casting spells, what casting a spell means, how that affects the quest where you're supposed to cast spells. If you haven't checked that one out, please go back and check it out and comment if you have any questions about casting spells or what you think the best step to do next is with casting spells and kind of where we go from here with spells and any ideas you have about that. And during last week's HS file, I did promise that we were going to jump into excess mana, the mysterious spell excess mana. Where does that come from? What does it do? What's it for? Why does it just appear out of thin air sometimes, but not always? So, but I've got bad news for those of you turning in for excess mana. An idea came to me that was inspired by opening the Waygate, something obviously that's near and dear to my heart, the epic Mage quest that I've been trying to solve and pinpoint the ideal way of casting spells for that. And I actually wanted to do a case study on the new Mage card, Arcane Keysmith. Here, looking at her right here next to my face. If I no, I gotta go. If you follow my eyes this way, ooh, there she is. Ooh, I'm looking at her. And the reason that I want to do a case study on her is because when Witchwood first came out, when I was first looking at the spells for it and the cards for it, I misread what she does and thought that it was that her ability helped open the Waygate. So I misinterpreted the card and thought that it actually helped us open the Waygate. So I initially thought that there was only one new Mage card that helps us open the Waygate. Turns out there's none. Turns out they didn't make any in Witchwood for opening the quest. But that's okay. I think that we need to reach out to Blizzard, let them know that they need to change the wording of this card, this minion, to be what I thought it was initially. So when I initially read it, I thought that it was worded Battlecry, discover a secret, and reduce its cost to 0. So I don't know how I misread that exactly, but when I initially read it says discover a secret, I just thought that it would go into your hand and reduce its cost by 0 rather than going directly into play. I think they need to change the wording of the card for a couple of reasons. The main one is that it's broken, right? So the card itself does not work ideally if your battlefield is full with secrets. So we'll go later and show that that's the evidence we're going to send to Blizzard, that we're going to use as a campaign to say, hey, this card needs to change. But I think it's an improvement overall to the card, right? So the other minion that allows us to discover secrets, the Hydrologist, the Paladin 2/2 Murloc, just puts it in your hand, right? So that's what we normally do when we discover things. They just go into our hand. There's some cards that allow you to discover the minion and put it in play, or there's the Primordial Glyph, which allows you to discover it and then reduce its cost by 2. Which is great for opening the Waygate, which is what brought us to looking at Arcane Keysmith in the first place. So it gives you the control over the spell, over the secret, which is what the Hydrologist does. As the Keysmith is worded now, it doesn't give you any control over it. So out of the 8 secrets, if you're only offered 3 of them that are kind of crummy, you have to put it in play, and you have to allow your opponent to handle it how they're going to handle it. Whereas holding on to it for a while gives you more options. It also allows you to discover a secret you already have in play. So if you're trying to get Ice Barrier just to stay alive, but you already have an Ice Barrier out, then you're holding on to your Arcane Keysmith until they activate your Ice Barrier so that you can cast Keysmith again and hopefully discover Ice Barrier, because you won't be able to discover Ice Barrier if you have Ice Barrier out, because you can't have 2 copies of it. So it does limit how useful Keysmith is. It's already pretty tough since it's a 4-drop 2/2, and when you're casting a minion that has 4 mana cost and only has 2 attack and 2 health, is you need a pretty good reason to cast it, right? So there's Arfice, which is 2/2. It's got the Death Rattle ability to give you an entire a new Death Knight card. So this is probably along the same ilk. That's probably why they thought it would be the value of it. But even with Arfice, it puts it in your hand and lets you play with it. It also, if it goes in your hand, the secret, it gives you synergy of using it with the Auctioneer, the Violet Arcanist, and then also with the Vexcrow, right? So imagine that, some synergy in the new set. Why not? Why not allow us to use Arcane Keysmith and the Vexcrow? The only drawback of it going into your hand really is that it could be counterspelled or mana binded, which are both mage spells. But it also, that's not really a drawback to me, because that gives you the ability to play around those then, right? So if they played a secret and you think it's counterspell, but you really want to get your fireball through, then maybe you use Arcane Keysmith to test for explosive runes, frozen clone, mirror entity, and then you use the secret you discovered to test for mana bind and counterspell. So we really want Blizzard to change the wording. Again, we want the wording to change from what it currently says, which as you can see right here, says discover a secret, put it onto the battlefield. And we really think Blizzard should change it to Battlecry, discover a secret, so that remains the same, reduce its cost to 0. Now, we could say reduce its cost by 3, or some fancy thing like that. They might want to change, whatever their phrasing is. The only reason I say reduce its cost to 0 is because at some point while playing Hearthstone, a class that does not use mage secrets, let's say a paladin, will eventually, I'm not sure how exactly, it'll happen at some point, but a paladin will use this card, maybe if it's just a tavern brawl even, and will discover a secret, and reducing its cost by 3 would make it -2. I'm not sure how that works in the coding. It probably just stays at 0, as we've seen with other cards that reduce their mana cost, but I like the wording that simply says reduce its cost to 0. Alright, so like I've said, I'm a full-time IT professional, and in the IT world, the best way to get a tech or a manager or director or anybody to take your problem seriously is to prove that it's broken. And I don't mean like, hey, desktop guy, my mouse isn't working, look, it doesn't work. No, you want to show him it doesn't work by unplugging it, plugging it back in, restarting the computer. Look, this mouse is fucked. We tried all the basic stuff. This mouse does not work, okay? So that's what we're going to do, is we're going to prove to Blizzard that this card is broken. And to do that, we've built a deck right here. You can see it here. That's why I've had it up the whole time. Our goal is to get all of the secrets in play and cast Arcane Keysmith. And I honestly don't know what it does. I imagine that it's like other Discover cards, where if there's only 1 or 2 targets, it will only offer those targets. So if we have 6 secrets in play, we will only be offered the 2 remaining secrets that we don't have in play yet. And that means that it's not working as it should be, right? Because it's not giving you an actual option. And so I'm also going to try to get all of the secrets in play and cast the Arcane Keysmith and see exactly what happens. I've never done this before. If people have done this on YouTube or over the internet, I'm sorry for repeating it. I've never experimented with it. I can be very stubborn. I like to gather my own evidence. So if we already know that this doesn't work, and there's people out there trying to get it changed, then just add my name to the list. But if not, then I'm gonna use this as evidence for myself, and hopefully for Blizzard, so that we can see if we can get Arcane Keysmith changed. So I'm going to challenge myself to a duel and build up to those secrets, so you can see right away. You don't have to sit through that. So hold on for 3 seconds and we'll get that started. As you can see, we're starting to build up the deck here. We've got a couple secrets in our hand. We've already got 4 of them. I mentioned before there were 8 in standard. We're only experimenting with this in standard because this would be more difficult to prove in wild, simply because of the addition of other secrets. But of the 8, there's Frozen Clone, Ice Barrier, Mirror Entity, Counterspell, Explosive Runes, Mana Bind, Vaporize, and Spellbinder. So I'm going to first try to get 6 out and cast my Arcane Keysmith and see if we're only presented with the remaining 2 options. So I'm going to track which 6 I have up, so that when you see that video, when you see that part of the video, you don't have to wonder which ones I've got. I'll let you know. And then we'll drop our Arcane Keysmith and see if we're only given those other 2 as options, because I'm really curious if that's how it's going to work. But I'm going to put 6 secrets in play, and then you'll see what we're doing. Give me a sec. So now we've actually run into something that I wasn't 100% expecting. I had forgotten that this happens. Is you can only have 5 secrets in play at a time. So I couldn't play my Vaporize here because I already have 5 other ones in play. I've got the Ice Barrier, Frozen Clones, Explosive Runes, Counterspell, and Mana Bind. So I don't have a Vaporize in play. You can see that real quick. And I discovered one with my Primordial Glyph, so it's only 1 mana here. So I've already got the max secrets in play. So I'm going to play Arcane Keysmith and show that you do not get its value if you have 5 secrets in play, because I think that that's enough proof to show that the card can be changed to the wording that I prefer, which puts it in your hand and reduces its cost to 0. But I'm curious what happens when we play it here. So there's 3 secrets we don't have in play. If we're given any options, I'm wondering if it will be those 3. Let's see. So we don't have Mirror Entity as one of the 3, Vaporize, and Spellbinder. So let's see what happens when we cast her here. So are we given those 3 options? No. So her effect completely fizzles. So there's nothing on this card that says won't take effect if you already have 5 secrets. There's nothing on any of the secrets that say you can only have 5 secrets. There's nothing within the game state itself that explains what's happening right now. And that's why we do the HS files, is to investigate where kind of the drawback is between being electronic and where Blizzard takes shortcuts on the wording and coding of these things, right? So looking at this situation, that I think that this is enough proof that Arcane Keysmith needs to have its wording changed. Because not only does it not actually work for you in a couple different board state situations, it also doesn't help us with opening the Waygate, which is what initially kicked off this investigation, which is what initiated my passion about playing Mage last year, was the legendary quest that came out. But looking at Witchwood, I thought again that this was the only card that was going to help us with that opening the Waygate, and the card itself needs to be fixed to the wording I suggested would help opening the Waygate. They could also make some minor programming changes, right? So like they could make it so that you could have 6 secrets when she's in play, right? She can trigger an extra secret spot. But again, that doesn't actually improve on what I think the issue is compared to the value you get out of her first printed version, which is Hydrologist. So that one puts it into your hand. I would probably rather have her just put it in my hand, even not reduce its cost by 3, because that way I could get one of the spells that helps my deck, right? Like a third explosive runes actually helps. When you get to put it in play with her, that's the most value. But if I already have one in play and they're playing around it, then there's no reason for me to drop this because she's not going to offer me one of the secrets I have in play. There's no way to prove that except for to go through it a bunch of times, which we could do. If you're interested in, let me know. But since there's 8 secrets and we can only see her ability when we cast it with 4 or less, it's always going to offer us 3 of the 4 that aren't in play. If you'd like, we could make another quick video later that shows that. But for now, I think that this is enough evidence to show that she needs a minor update, which would be a major update for helping Mage quest, but also just herself, the card herself is broken. It doesn't work. We have 5 secrets in play, which is the maximum, which is a rule that's set there, which we know from Paladin Secrets from a couple years ago. And but the fact that she just doesn't trigger, right? Like some of them, some cards that have a Battlecry effect, maybe it should at least say on here, doesn't trigger if you have 5 secrets, or maybe she just isn't playable if you have 5 secrets, but she definitely needs to be changed. Alright, I jumped out of that game because it was a little distracting for me trying to talk and have the rope burning. I was getting some anxiety trying to get my point across before my turn ended, so we just jumped out. We're looking at the card here, and so I am going to, after I post this video, try to reach out to Blizzard. Maybe if you guys know the best way to reach them, let me know. I was thinking about trying Reddit and Twitter, and just to kind of bring this to their attention that it's not just a quality of life thing, something that I'm asking for to improve the life of the quest mage, but also because the card itself just has some functions that don't work within the game. So once we get to 5 secrets, which in the current play isn't that big of a deal, but in the next expansion, the next 2 sets will come out and standard will not lose any cards. So if they add 1 or 2 mage spells that are playable, you're looking at maybe 10 mage spells, and it won't be that uncommon to have 4 or 5 trying to build up to 5. They might even make the card playable that pulls them all into play. Right here, the Glacial Mysteries, right? So Glacial Mysteries and Arcane Keysmith are pretty much mutually exclusive cards. I mean, the mana cost doesn't really work out. Neither of them are that playable right now, but I would like to see the Keysmith playable, and the main way that's going to happen is by changing the wording so that the discovered secret goes into your hand and has its cost ideally reduced to 0. They don't have to reduce the cost to 0. I think that plays into the card's power better, because that's where the effect, that's part of the effect we like of it, is that of her 4 mana, 3 of that is really the secret's casting cost, because we're looking for a secret and assuming it comes into play. Anyway, that does it for this week's HS Files. Sorry it was an investigation, a case study, instead of me releasing one of the HS files I have on file. We will continue next week with the HS files, likely looking at excess mana. I don't want to make any promises because I know I let you guys down this week. But follow me on Instagram at brennan.roahs. I also have a Facebook, Twitter. Obviously, I've got the YouTube and the Twitch, and those are all Brennan ROAHS. No dot. The dot is in the Gmail and the Instagram. So I created those 2 first, and then the other usernames don't let you have a dot in there. So I probably have to fix that at some point. I'm hoping that I can get a social media person in here to help me at some point, make all this stuff a little spiffier. So if anybody is looking for work that pays absolutely nothing, I'm your guy. So tune in Sundays through Wednesdays, 8 o'clock Central Time, for my stream Random Acts of Hearthstone, and I'll see you guys later. Thanks.